Very interesting topic of 3D printing. Let's go back to the history. It all started in 1984 by a man named Charles Hall, and before it was called 3D printing, it was actually called stereolithography, which I have the process right here, which is basically, because it's very, very detailed, but a broken down version of it would be, it's basically a tank filled with some liquid plastic, and then you have UV lasers that basically paint the pattern of the object on a platform, and it keeps repeating this process until all the layers are completely done. There's not one technique to this. There's a bunch actually, and I'll link the website right here so you can read them all. There's just a lot to go through, and as you can see, these are some big words. But like I mentioned before, it's pretty much the same thing, but just different variations of it. The difference between a 3D printer and a traditional printer is that, for one, this doesn't use ink. It uses different materials, and that can range from pretty much anywhere. Based off the picture here, you can see all the types of things it's capable of making. The one thing that really intrigued me when first learning about the subject was the fact that you can make food, and eventually they want to make like tissues and like organs for the human body. So where it's used, I already kind of alluded to the whole medical industry thing, but it goes way farther than that. For instance, there's a picture right here of the Iron Man prosthetic for a kid. There's a really great story behind it, so I'll put the YouTube video right down below. And basically, you can make anything, like I was saying. Like, for instance, this is a working hand that some person just made and donated to people that didn't have working limbs. Some other ways you could use 3D printing is, for instance, NASA's been making parts for spacecrafts like engines and an actual jet made out of a 3D printing material. The automotive industry has been making engines, platforms, and a lot of models. The whole like trick to all of this and why it's so great 3D printing is because it basically speeds up everything. For instance, the rapid prototyping industrial printing, like Nike company for instance would make a bunch of prototypes for different shoes, but they would take like weeks to months. But with the whole 3D printing, they're making them instantly, so you could try to see how different colors or different materials would work. As for personal printing, you could basically make whatever you would like. Like a lot of people have been recently making iPhone cases, little bits of toys, even little bits of parts and pieces from hardware that you may have at home, like a stroller. Say a part is broken, you can easily just remake the part instead of going out and buying it yourself. Industry growth in 3D printing. As you can see through this pie chart, it's pretty much 50-50 split, but what you have to remember is over 23 years in history, it's at the 52%, and recently in 2010 is the 48%. So within 1 year, we've almost caught up to all the progress we had within 23 years. So as you can see, this whole 3D printing has kind of exploded in recent years, and it's just going to get bigger from there. As for prices, which really concerned me when I typed in 3D printer, was they range a lot. As you can see on the sheet, there says like in a warehouse use, it's from $200,000, but for consumers, this is around $500, which isn't that bad, but it's pretty pricey for the average consumer. So for services, this is the next best thing. If you can't afford your own 3D printer, you can go to different websites and basically just upload your own scanned item and they'll make it for you, and then they give it to you as at a reasonable price. These are two websites right here that you can go to that do it. They range in their, I guess you could say, their services. More, some are like more easier to work with than others. Others are more for businesses. All right, for the future for 3D printing is really bright. There's a lot of it that you can see in the most recent years. If you look at like I said, with the whole hands and all that type of stuff, you can see it's just going to get bigger from there. There's art that you can make from it, so that's really good for people that are trying to like make different products and try new things, but do it really quickly because old methods are really slow. As for medicine, like I said before, they're trying to make different ways to cure people's illnesses, make different limbs, and then eventually even replace organs and tissue. And the great thing about all of this is just the speed. It's all about the speed. Like things that usually would take months to years are like being able to be done within days and weeks. And this is the works site. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you check out this topic because there's great things to learn about this. And happy printing.